Assistive Technology Support Group proudly presents Spring Technology, March 2022. We invite you to like, subscribe, and share for more great content. You may also email the show at athotcorner@gmail.com. That's athotcorner@gmail.com. Your hosts for this episode are Mike Moat and yours truly, Israel Cazares. And now, here is Mike Moat.
So I want to say good evening to everybody and welcome to our monthly Assistive Technology Support Group meeting. I'm Mike Moat. Israel Zarita is alongside, and we want to thank all of you for joining us, whether you're doing it live this evening on March the 17th, or if you're listening to it on our YouTube channel at the Assistive Technology Hot Corner channel. And we encourage those of you who have not subscribed to do so, because we have a lot of good information there. These meetings are archived, so if you want to go back and hear something that we may have done, maybe you missed it or maybe you want to hear it again, feel free to do that. And you can also listen to some of our Hot Corner hot takes and highlights that we've posted up there. And you can also email us with questions, comments, suggestions, whatever you'd like at athotcorner@gmail.com. And we'll be giving you that information a little later as well, in case you missed all of that. But I want to say hi to Israel. He's my co-host. And I want to take a moment before we get started this week to thank Israel and Roger Brooks, who is on with us just about every month. For pinch hitting for me last month. I was involved in basketball broadcasting and I was not able to be here. And I appreciate you guys for stepping in and helping out. And I appreciate those of you who attended last month's meeting and were so willing to be participants. It was fantastic. So, Israel, hi, how are you?
Doing well, Mike. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there. I hope that everybody's had a good one. And in honor of St. Patrick's Day, don't you mind, but that is a soda.
Oh, it is. Okay,
I just wanted it for the sound effect. That's all.
Oh, that's very nice.
No, thank you for joining us, everybody. I think I'm very proud of this channel, very proud that our subscribership keeps growing. We are at 43 subscribers as of last check. 43 subscribers, and I'm very proud of the direction that we're going with this channel. And I think that we're going to have a lot more exciting things in the future. The idea is being tossed around of this moving to a podcast so that more people can have access to the show on demand and without having to deal with ads from Google. So we're talking about doing that in the near future. So keep an eye out for that, because that will be everywhere. We will be on Apple. We'll be on Spotify. We will be on Google Play. So keep an eye out for those things coming your way. There's going to be a lot more exciting things. Mike alluded to this earlier, the Hot Corner highlights and the Hot Corner hot takes. I'm sorry. And those two are separate entities. And I just kind of want to give it a brief explainer as to what those are. The highlights are where either Mike Moat or myself will sit down with an individual in the blind community who is doing an incredible job at something. They're doing something special to impact the community in a positive way. Whether that's someone that's, we've had a person that's a healthcare professional who's blind. We've had someone who's a COO who's blind. I've had a couple of interviews that have kind of gone sideways on me and I have to re-record them, but there were leaders of organizations that are doing great things in the blind community. So with that, I will say that if you or someone you know would like to be featured on the show, please feel free to email the show at athotcorner@gmail.com. And the Hot Corner hot takes is when we will do a short breakdown of an accessibility tip or trick that we like to highlight. So it could be JAWS, it could be iOS, it could be a number of different things. And we just want you guys to be a part of that. Subscribe, share that YouTube, put it on your Twitter, put it on your Facebook, Instagram if you have it, TikTok. We're not there yet, but we might. Who knows? And I just appreciate all the support so far. So 43 of you have subscribed, and I'm very proud of that. And with all that said, Mike Moat, I'm going to turn that back over to you.
So we have a lot of new things to talk about, some news in the assistive technology world that I think a lot of folks come expecting us to deliver. And by golly, we got a lot of it this week and this month. We are 3 days into the new iOS, which dropped on Monday. It is 15.4, not 15.0.4, but 15.4. And this comes on the heels of the Apple event that was held last week, in which they unveiled new gear. One of the big highlights of that was the iPhone SE, the newest SE model that does still have the home button. For those of you who want your home button, you get to keep it if you get the SE model. So they have released a new iPhone. I expect that we'll have new iPhones later this year, but this one came out and is going to be available tomorrow, I believe.
Tomorrow.
Is when it starts.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep. So you can start looking for those. I want to give you a couple of highlights and lowlights of 15.4, as we have heard. The biggest thing that there's a couple of things that Apple kind of touted when they released 15.4. From an accessibility standpoint, they told us that the panning issue for Braille displays had been resolved, largely resolved, not totally resolved. And I can confirm that that is true because I am still seeing it in certain apps, particularly Messenger. The Messages app from time to time is kind of sluggish, and there's a bit of a delay, and sometimes it does not pan correctly. So you may have some issues with that. If you do, one of the suggestions that I've seen, have yet to try just because I haven't had a chance, but I saw it earlier today, is if you change to a different Braille table, chances are it may help. Have not tried that, so I cannot confirm that that changes it, but if you're having issues, try it and see. The other thing that they touted, this is really not necessarily what you would call accessibility related, but we have for Macs and iPads, the universal control. And from what I have heard from an accessibility standpoint, it does work. I don't know how well because I haven't heard from very many people who use it. However, if we have somebody on the call tonight who's tried it, I'd like to hear your thoughts when we open it up for questions here in a bit.
Or maybe Israel will just have to sacrifice and buy a Mac so that he can.
Yeah, well, that's a possibility as well. Or if anyone would like to send us a Mac to test, we'd love
absolutely.
To
we're accepting Macs.
Exactly. So those are two things. The other thing, which may be interesting to some of you, is the idea that you now, if you wear a mask, a face covering, that it will see your identity if you're unlocking your phone using Face ID. I've heard some inconsistencies with this, particularly for those who wear thick glasses. So for those of you who are low vision, this may or may not be as successful for you as it is for other folks, but it is being touted as an upgrade to this new iOS 15.4. I will not make a comment on this necessarily because I don't know for sure, because I don't use Face ID. I just unlock my phone with a code. I've never really been a big fan of holding a phone in front of my face, but some people do, and that's fine. But so give that a shot. If you have not downloaded the 15.4, that is something that you can enjoy, perhaps. So those are some of the highlights that we saw in the release. And Israel, I will open it up and see if you've got anything you want to mention that they brought up that you think is important to mention here.
Yeah, absolutely. So Apple's event was called Peak Performance, and they focused a lot on performance. New chips, the new M1 chip, new M2 chips for the iMacs and Macs. The iPad Air got a refresh, and the iPad Air was last refreshed in 2020 with the A15 Bionic chip. Now the iPad Air has the M1 chip that is currently available on the new Macs. So you get faster performance, you get the same 8 gigs RAM, but you can upgrade that, of course. And you can start, the iPad Air starts at 64 gigs, but you can, of course, jack that up to 128 and then some. So for performance, there is that chip in the new iPad Air. For security, the iPad Air still does the finger print. So you can do Touch ID. I'm sorry, that's what that's called. So it does Touch ID. And they added the on-stage, which I'm actually very interested in trying out, something called on-stage camera, which the camera will follow the person as you move around, keeping you in frame. That would be specifically helpful, I think, for people that are blind or visually impaired who are in Zoom meetings. And regardless of how you move or where you move, as long as you're in front of the camera will intelligently follow you and keep you in frame, which I think it would be fantastic for us to be able to test that out. Another update that they brought out on the hardware side was Macs. So they did bring out something called the Mac Studio, and the Mac Studio is a brand new product that was just introduced that has very high performing chips, and is geared specifically for people that do music, for people that do video editing or photo production. So the Mac Studio comes in different flavors. You have the Mac Studio with an M1 Ultra, which is the highest chipset. That one starts at about $3,900. Or you can get the one with just the M1 Mac, M1 Pro Max is what they're calling that chip. And that starts at, I believe the price was $2,900, if I'm not mistaken. But that device is, again, geared more toward music creators or people that deal with very large files due to video editing, etc. There are still rumors out there that Apple will be releasing an iPad Pro eventually, but that probably will come in the fall, in October, and probably a new MacBook Pro, which they did tease at the end of the presentation. So those are some of the things that stood out to me. And from a low vision perspective, they did release a brand new screen to accompany that Mac Studio, is what they're calling it. So that Mac Studio comes with a 27-inch, or you can actually, it doesn't come with it. You can buy that 27-inch display, ultra high resolution, on-stage camera, good microphones, good speaker system on that system as well. So those products are available at the Apple Store. You can go ahead and pre-order them, and I believe they will be shipping tomorrow. But while Mike does his presentation, I will verify and check that information is accurate. But those are some of the updates that came out last week, Mike.
Okay, and one other thing that I didn't mention is they do have some new voices for Siri that are available if you're interested in that. They're more neutral, if you will. So those are some things you can try out and see if you like them. And just basically install those as you would any other voice. So a few other mentions of new things that are coming, and I think this is one that I think is really going to be cool for those of us who read books a lot. And it's from the folks at Benetech, who's the parent company of Bookshare. Those of you who are Bookshare subscribers will be happy to know they're excited to introduce, and I'm reading from a press release, a suite of free, I love free, reading apps for people with reading barriers. Bookshare Reader will be using their web Bookshare Reader, iOS Bookshare Reader, and also Android Bookshare Reader, and also one for the Echoes, the Alexas. So that's coming this summer. Now, the one for Alexa is in beta, and it is available to Bookshare subscribers only. You can download that and activate that skill now. But the rest of it is coming out, they say, this summer. So be on the lookout for that. Now, of course, there's so many ways you can read Bookshare books now. You can download them, read them in Braille. You can pull them to VoiceStream. There's an app called Speech Central that you can download and read them with that. There's a lot of ways to get them. And there's a lot of ways to read them, but Bookshare has never really done it themselves. The makers of Bookshare have never really done it themselves. So they're doing that. And so I'm interested to see what that's going to look like once that is available on the smartphones. So we'll keep you posted on when the release is actually going to happen, but we should know about that pretty soon. Also, another bit of news that came down the other day as we were preparing for this monthly meeting, and that is we have new Braille displays coming out from HIMS Inc. And one of them is a 32-cell QWERTY keyboard setup, and the other one is a new note taker that they have. I believe it's called the Braille Sense Mini. If I'm totally wrong on that, I apologize, but I believe that's the name. You can go to himsinc.com and learn more. They revealed these earlier this week, or they revealed the Sense Mini earlier this week. That is a 20-cell device that is a Braille keyboard, but it's got a lot of good stuff under the hood as far as processing is concerned. For those who like note takers, they're a little expensive. They like their Braille displays. But this one actually has a radio in it. It runs on the Android platform. I will tell you that it's version 10 of Android, which is 2 versions beneath the current Android version, and I'm sure there are reasons for that. But it has Bluetooth capability. It has several other different features, which I won't go into here. But you have good battery life. And for those who love Braille displays and using a Perkins-style keyboard, this is a nice device. I think you'd really enjoy it. So those are some things. And I mean, there's a lot of other information that's coming out. A new version of JAWS has dropped since we last met. There's some interesting features about that you can do. They've changed a couple of keystrokes around, especially if you read by sentence, although the old ones still work. I don't know if anybody has checked that out or not, but I have, and it does still work. So, all right. So we're going to do a couple of things tonight. We're going to do 1 or 2 presentations, very quick, and then we're going to open up the floor for questions and comments about anything that you would like to discuss tonight. But I know that one of the things we did last month, got a lot of good positive feedback, and I wanted to show you guys a couple of other things that JAWS does, and maybe we just forget about it as users of JAWS. And I'm going to share my screen here so that you guys can hear what's going on here. And Israel, if you don't mind,
screen share audio set.
Let me know that
Participants can now see your screen. Heading navigation and finding text. Docs word.
You should be able to hear it. Are you hearing JAWS there, Israel, or no? Hopefully you are, because I'm not getting any feedback. But anyway, so we'll go through this and open it up for questions afterwards. So one of the things that we tend to forget is some of the things you can do to get information about your document. And I really love some of the things that you're able to do with JAWS and get information about what you're actually working on as far as a Word document is concerned. And one of the new things that Office 365 introduced is the Microsoft Editor. It's very simple to activate, and you do it by simply pressing the F7 key, and that gives you a lot of information. Not only can you spell check your document, you can also check for grammatical errors, you can check for clarity, and you can check for a lot of things about your document in terms of what it's going to look like, how well it's going to be presented, how well it's even worded. This is a really neat feature for those of us who spend time editing documents, especially those of you who might be in HR, maybe you're in education, maybe you're doing work with schools or different things like that, or just sending out emails that need to look professional. And you want to know what it looks like before you send it out. And Word really does a good job of helping us identify things that might be problematic with a document. So I thought I would demonstrate this for you a little bit tonight and show you just how powerful this tool is. So I'm going to I've got a document up here, which is called JAWS for Windows and Computer Considerations, and it talks about LISI. I mentioned LISI last month in the little brief demonstration that I did. We're going to be talking more about LISI, but this is just the document that talks a little bit about LISI, and I'm at the top of it. So I'm going to press the F7 key to start the Microsoft Office Editor, the editor.
Status bar, page 1 of 4 button.
And I think I hit F6 and not F7. Way to go, Mike.
Upper ribbon. Leaving menus.
Back
Leaving
to
ribbons.
the
Edit.
document. There we go.
Heading level 1 installing and config.
Try it again.
Editor. Editor score. For documents with 100 plus words, we display a score and update it as you go through editor suggestions. Insights. Editor score. For documents with 100 plus words, we display a score and update it as you go through editor suggestions. Editor score 88% button. Editor score 93% button. Editor score 80% button.
Now, it just gave you all kinds of information about the score and all of that sort of thing, but I'm just going to press the tab key here.
How formal will this document be? Formal writing selected. Required selection contains 3 items collapsed.
So I've got it set to formal, and there's other selections here, but we will just leave it there for now.
Corrections. Spelling. 5 issues. Press space or enter to review items. Button.
So it tells me there's 5 spelling problems. So I'm just going to press the space bar here. If I want to look at any of these spelling errors or any of the other issues, like
Refinements. Clarity. 10 issues. Press space or enter to review.
I just press tab to get to that point
Correct.
where it said
Refinements.
that.
Clarity. 10 issues. Press space or enter to review items. Button.
So if I wanted to review the clarity, I could just press the space bar to go to that. Let's tab again.
Insights. Document statistics button.
There's some document statistics I can look at.
Give feedback to Microsoft. Tell us what you think about editor button. Editor score 80% button. How formal will this document be? Formal
And
writing
we're
select.
going back around here. So I'm going to go to the spelling errors.
Corrections. Spelling. 5 issues. Press space or enter to review items.
So
Button.
the corrections and spelling errors. I'm going to press the space bar to activate this, and I'll show you how it works.
Spelling. Not in dictionary. Startup. STRTUP. Suggestions. Startup. START-UP. Spelling. Not in dictionary.
Now you're familiar. Now just press the control key to stop Jaws from speaking there. If you're familiar with how spell check works, this is very similar. So it's got a list of words, a list of suggestions here that I can choose from. I can also tab through some more options here, and I'm going to do that now.
Read original sentence button.
I can read the original sentence.
Startup. Similar to. Inauguration. Creation. Origination 1 of 3 split button.
That is the first word in the list. Startup. And it gives you a little bit of a definition as to what it means. If you don't want to use that, you can press the down arrow key.
Startup. Similar to. Inauguration. Startup. Similar to. Switch on. Setup. Pipe up 3 of 3 split button.
So that's the third option. So, but I want to use the first one. So I'm going to up arrow to the first.
Startup. Similar to. Inauguration. Creation. Startup. Similar to. Inauguration. Creation. Origination 1 of 3 split button.
So that is spelled, if you're just curious, START-UP. Now I'm going to press enter.
Spelling. Not in dictionary. Startup. STRTUP. Suggestions. Startup. START-U.
And it goes to another issue where startup is. And I'm going to go ahead and show you something that I can do here. I can tab.
Read original sentence button.
I can read the original sentence.
Startup. Similar.
There's the word list.
Startup. Similar to. Inaugurate. Startup. Similar to. Ignore once button.
I can ignore it.
Ignore all button.
I can
G.
ignore it once, or I can ignore all.
Add to dictionary button.
I
A.
can add to the dictionary if I want to add it.
Settings button.
I can go to the settings,
Back to overview button.
back to the overview.
4 remaining in this category. Previous
4
issue button.
remaining in this category, which is some statistics for me.
Next issue button.
And then I can just move to the next issue without addressing this.
Spelling. Not in dictionary. Startup.
So I'm going to go and I'm going to change this one.
Read original sentence button. Startup. Similar to. Inauguration. Creation.
I want to show you how the read sentence function works. I'm going to
Read original.
go tab back to that by shift tabbing, and I'm going to press the space bar and you'll hear what happens.
It is quite acceptable to make changes in the startup wizard at this stage if you wish.
So basically what happens is Jaws is using the narrator voice through Word to read me that sentence, and it tells me a little bit of context of how this word is used. So if I want to go ahead and switch it, I can tab.
Startup. Similar to. Inauguration. Creation. Origination 1 of 3 split button.
Now it says what you just heard there. I can press enter on that, or I can down arrow.
Startup. Similar. Startup.
Do
Similar to.
this.
Switch on. Setup. Pipe up 3 of 3 split button.
Now this is spelled differently. It's got a space between the words start up instead of a dash like we had before. So I'm going to press enter to add this.
Spelling. Not in dictionary. Lisi Central. LESEYCENTRM.
Okay. So now we have our third spelling error. So you see how this works. You see how this is working. You can do this for a lot of different things within the confines of Word. And you can do this in Outlook as well. There's some ways to do that in Outlook as well. F7 is a very powerful tool with Jaws.
Heading
I'm going
navigation.
to hit escape, and I want to show you something else. Now, this is a specific thing to Jaws that I want to show you. In keeping with the theme of checking your document, Want to get some quick statistics about your document? There's a very easy way to do that. I'm going to press the keystroke Alt T.
Upper ribbon. Home tab. Alt followed by H.
I'm going to press the letter W.
Leaving menus. Leaving ribbons. Word count dialog. Statistics. Pages. 1. Words. 1. Characters no spaces. 13. Characters with spaces. 13. Paragraphs. 0. Lines. 1. Close button.
Okay. So it gave me some
Heading navigation and finding
stats.
text.
I
Heading
want
level.
to read some more about that, though. So I'm going to do Alt T,
Upper ribbon. Home. Leaving menus.
W
Leaving
for
ribbons.
Word. And now this is basically a control that's open. It's read all of that information. But what if I want to read it line by line by line? You can actually put this in the JAWS virtual viewer so that you can navigate this and see more information and see it a little bit more clearly. And this is going to be super helpful because you can do the same process, the virtualizing of the control on the website. How many of us, and I have done this on numerous occasions, especially recently, where you will click on something on a website and it'll say OK button, but it doesn't read to you what that dialog box is. Well, you can virtualize it and read the information in there. And the way you do it is you press Shift, JAWS key, and the letter V.
Word count.
What JAWS just did is it put me at the top of the virtual buffer or the virtual window here that has all the information in it. Now, because it's Word, it puts me at the top, and the first thing that was on that dialog box was word count. Now I can just press the down arrow key.
Statistics. Pages 4.
Pages 4.
Words 1,138.
Words 1,138.
Characters no spaces 5,822.
Characters, if you don't add spaces, 5,822.
Characters with spaces 6,933.
If you add the spaces, that character count grows to 6,933.
Paragraphs 34.
Paragraphs 34.
Lines 122. Include text boxes. Clausel.
Now, if you go down to the bottom, it says close. Now, JAWS actually has an L next to that. It says close all, but it's close. It's the close button. Now, you cannot do anything with the controls here. You can just read what that dialog box is telling you. Trust me, folks, use this on your web pages. Use the control, the keystroke, insert, or JAWS key, however you want to call it, Shift, and the letter V. That will give you a lot of information about whatever that control is telling you. Once you're done reviewing it, you'll simply press the escape key.
Cancel button.
And then you're brought back to the original dialog box that we just read. And now I am highlighted on the cancel button, which is what I want. Now, of course, I could click to OK or close or whatever, but I'm going to just press the space bar and go back to my document. One other bit of information I want to share tonight about this that I found very interesting is using the word count dialog that JAWS does along with the skim reading tool. A lot of folks may not use the skim reading tool that JAWS gives us, but it's very useful. And I'm going to demonstrate a little bit. I won't talk much about it, but I think it's important to show it to you. So I'm going to press Control, Insert, W.
List dialog. List 1 list view. Lisi 28. 1 of 3.
What I've done is I've brought up a list of words in this document. Every word in this document is listed in a list view here. And I could just press the down arrow key and I could see all the words that are in this document. What is so significant about this, though, is that we have a lot of repeat words in this document, like the word Lisi, for instance. Lisi appears in this document that I have open 28 times. I'm going to press the down arrow key.
JAWS 26.
JAWS appears in this document 26 times. So there's 26 different references, either sentences, phrases, different references to the word JAWS.
Computer 13.
Computer, there's 13 different references to the word computer. Now, why would this matter? It would matter if you were trying to find the different sentences that had the word computer in it. And you can do that in the document. So let's try that. Actually, I'm going to shift tab to
Summary button. Alt plus.
the summary button. And when I press the space bar or the keystroke Alt plus the letter S, It's going to bring up a summary of this, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Now, I must tell you, sometimes JAWS doesn't do it on the first try, but it will do it.
Edit.
Wait a moment. And of course, it didn't do it. I told you it wouldn't do it. All right, so let's try it again. Insert Control W.
Word list dialog. List JAWS computer 13. Summary button. Alt plus. Edit.
And now it's making a liar out of me. Let's try a different word, shall we? I know this works because I did it before and I've done it several times.
JAWS 26.
Let's look at JAWS.
Summary button. Alt plus S.
Let's do that keystroke.
Edit.
See if it's going to pop for me.
Link 4. If you do not
It
link
did.
1. Link.
Okay, finally. All right. So there's lists of the
Link.
words, the list of the sentences here and phrases that have the word summary. So I'm just going to press the up and down arrow key and show you.
Link 2. Link 1.
what we
Working
have.
through the sections of this chapter concerning the customization of your computer's applications will ensure that your screen reader will perform optimally with JAWS, irrespective of whether Lisi is installed or not.
So we're looking for the word JAWS here in case you were wondering. So that's the first reference. Now let's go down with the arrow key.
Link 2. JAWS for Windows and computer considerations.
That's the second reference.
Link 3. In order for Lisi to function, the JAWS for Windows screen reader from Freedom Scientific should be purchased.
This is number 3. Now let's say we wanted to go to this part of the document. All we'd have to do is press enter to go to it. Now let me stop here and say real quick that what happens and what JAWS has done is it has opened up a window, like a virtual window here that has all this information in it. And the document is in a separate window. So I'm going to press enter to go to the document into this position.
Page 4. Page 2. Heading navigation and finding text.
So here we are in the sentence.
Blank. In order for Lisi to function, the JAWS for Windows screen reader from Freedom.
This is page 4, and this is where the reference of JAWS I was wanting to go to is, and it takes me there. So it's like JAWS 5, but it's a little bit more powerful than that. Normally, you can press Control Insert F to find a word or a phrase or something like that, and then you can press F3 to find the next sequence of it or whatever. But this is a little more powerful than that because it not only gives you the word, but it also gives you a sentence that has the word in it. Now, I found this. Let's say I wanted to make an edit on this sentence, and I've done that, but I want to go back to the list and see another reference where JAWS is mentioned. I can press Alt-Tab.
Skim reading results. Skim reading results.
And this is called the Skim Reading Results window, by the way.
Link 4. If you do not own a copy of JAWS and you live in the United Kingdom, please contact Link 5. If you live outside
And here are my references to JAWS. There's 26 of them. So there's 26 sentences or phrases that have JAWS in it. So let's say I want to go to the number 5
Link 4.
reference.
Link 5. If you live outside
I'd press enter again.
Page 2.
And we're
Heading
going to go
navigation
back up to page 2. And this is
Own a
what
if you live outside the UK, please contact the developers of JAWS, Vespero, or
right here. And that's where that sentence would be. So I can Alt-Tab back over
Skim reading results. Skim
to my Skim Reading Results viewer. And if I'm done, I can simply press Escape.
If you live outside the UK, edit.
And
Page
I'm back to my document. And I can just press Control
2.
Home.
Page 1. Heading level 1.
And I'll move to the top. So those are a few things, just some tips of that you can use when you're navigating and editing a document. You want to know information about the document. You want to know some statistics about it. And you want to be able to read those statistics line by line. And also, I think a real helpful keystroke is the one where you can read dialog boxes. The Shift Insert V is a huge help when trying to determine what a dialog box says. Again, you can use that in a lot of areas. You can use it when you need to see what a dialog box Windows is giving you. This works in a lot of places. That is a very valuable keystroke. I hope you guys will use it and enjoy it. And hopefully this will make some sense to you. So these are some things that we'll go over in the next months as we continue. We're going to find some more power JAWS tips that we can share with you so that you can get more out of your use of JAWS. I've been doing more of this myself. I have really enjoyed it. I'm going through a course called Jaw Muscles that has been taught by Brian Harchin of Harchin Consulting. And it kind of motivated me to teach some of the things that I've learned and share some of the things that I know about JAWS that maybe you guys would like to know too. We can always get more out of JAWS. And I think there's some things that we just don't realize or just forget that JAWS can do.
Meeting controls.
And I can tell you from where I sit, JAWS can be a really powerful tool if you know all the things it can do. I'm turning my screen share off so you guys don't have to hear JAWS talk anymore. And we can open it up for questions. And Israel, I will turn it over to you for a moment so I can get into position to see some hands raised. We are a little beyond the halfway point, so we're going to open up the floor for questions. Israel, if you've got anything you want to bring to the table real quick before we do that, feel free to do it right now.
Thank you, Mike. And before we move on too far, I kind of want to circle back to a topic that I brought up before Mike's presentation regarding Siri voices, and Mike alluded to this as well. Siri has added a new voice number 5, as we're calling it. And I'm going to play you guys a sample of all the Siri voices that we have up to this point. So here's voice number 1.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
Here's voice number 2.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
Here's voice number 3.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
Here's voice number 4.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
And finally, here's the newest voice, voice number 5.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
So if you'd like to use any of those voices, you can simply go to Settings, Siri, and Search, and select the voice after you select the dialect. These are, of course, under the American dialect. And the variety is what that's called. That heading is called. So you can select the voice there. If you select the voice, it'll be changed. It'll download it to your phone, and it will use that voice henceforth with Siri. And I just want to touch base with that and kind of demo what the new voice sounds like, especially for those of you that weren't familiar or had not gone back to check. So with that, I want to thank Mike for his presentation as well, and we will go ahead and open up the floor.
So if you want to ask a question and you're unfamiliar with how to do so, it really depends on what device you're using. If you're using a PC, you want to raise your hand. The keystroke is Control Y. If you're using a cell phone, you can go to the bottom corner of your screen, and there's a More option, I believe. And under there, you will find a raise hand option.
That is
Once
correct.
you have your hand raised, you will see it, or at least I try to, and I'll be glad to unmute you and let you ask your question. So feel free to raise your hand, and we'd love to hear what you had to say. I'm looking now, and let's see, looking for some. We don't have any questions yet. I see Shannon has joined. That's great. Good to see some of the folks that are here that I haven't seen in a while. Again, Alt Y if you want to raise your hand, and also on the smartphone, it's at the bottom right hand. There's an option that says More, and you can go into there and raise your hand. We'll be glad to take your questions.
Now, I will mention that you don't have to ask a question specifically about anything that's been presented tonight. You can ask a question about technology in general, software tip or trick that you'd like, Outlook, Excel. We're here to try to get to and field as many of your questions as you want. So please don't be shy. Don't let us do the talking, because we are big mic hogs over here, and we will hog it all up.
Because we got our new microphones too. That's what we like.
Exactly.
Looks like we have a question from, let's see. We do have one, or at least I thought I saw one. Let's see.
I'm going to check.
I see one, and I believe I'm going to ask Geneva to unmute because it looked like I saw her hand up. Geneva, whenever you can, you go right ahead. Yep, go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. How are you all doing today?
We're good.
Great, Geneva.
Awesome. Okay. When you was reading earlier, was it Control V? Then was it Control V, then insert, or because it seemed like you said it two different ways. Was it insert V control?
For the dialog box?
Yes. Yes.
That is going to be in order to read your dialog box,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to do Control Insert V, I believe that is. It's all
Control
together.
insert.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you press all of them at the same time.
Right.
So that does
Okay.
virtualize it. That does virtualize the window. And it is, like I say, it's one of my favorite keystrokes that I use throughout the course of using JAWS. I mean, it really helps. Back in the day, and you can still do this the old-fashioned way. Insert B does do it, but sometimes some of the newer ones do not see everything, and sometimes it'll read a lot of other stuff. It's really not part of the dialog box, so it's really safe to just virtualize it, and then you'll see everything that JAWS sees. And it will read it in the order that it's actually displayed. Now, again, let me stress, you cannot do anything with it. You cannot do anything with it once it's in that virtual viewer. But once you've read it, obviously, then you can press escape and then go click OK or cancel, because you pretty much know what it's saying. You know, you just need to decide. Then you can decide what you want to do.
And Mike, I do want to make a very quick correction there.
Did I screw it up?
Control Insert V is to find the version of the software that you're looking at.
That's right. It's Shift
to
Insert
virtualize the Windows Shift Insert
Shift
V.
Insert V. I said Control, and I'm sorry. It is Shift Insert V. So Geneva, correct myself. It is Shift Insert V. Shift JAWS key V. If you're on your laptop, that's Shift Caps Lock V.
Right. All right. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you, Israel, for correcting me. I appreciate it. I do, really. I didn't want to mess that up. So it is Shift Insert V. Shift Insert V. So let's see. Gonna look at we have some other folks here. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to you guys. If you want to ask a question, feel free to do so. And we have a question from a iPhone user. And I'm going to try to find them again because it decided to go away. Hold on just one moment. There it is. You can unmute your phone. I don't know who it goes to, but I've just tried to unmute you. There you are. Go ahead.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm surprised it didn't show me. Anyway.
Yeah, it didn't.
Do you have experience, either you or Israel, because I have been voluntold to troubleshoot an issue with a Hub app, which is an Azure website. Ooh. I'm not sure if you've used those at all, but our vice president of strategic initiatives here at CSC has told me that certain dialog boxes where you escalate tickets from one queue to the other is not working. And I found out, now normally, if you're using JAWS, a combo box you could open with the Alt down arrow key and then tab to a button to accept your selection.
Right.
This particular instance does not work like that. Instead, you have to hit the open button and then arrow to a list, but you can't actually activate the list with the space or the enter key like you think you could, and it opens up Forms mode. It opens Forms mode, but then immediately closes it. And to get it open, you have to hit the tab key to the actual list item, or not the list itself with the label. And after tabbing, you can then hit space or the enter key. The most convoluted thing. And Jason says, well, okay, this is going live over. You can edit this out.
Sure.
Our vice president said, well, Forms mode's not helping. And I'm like, well, Forms mode is the de facto standard. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to use the form elements. And I'm just wondering if either of you has any input on Azure websites and making that convoluted way of displaying lists to work better for maybe novice JAWS users.
I'm going to take a stab at this, and Israel, I'll see what you got to say. I'm going to go ahead and say one way I would try it, Ryan, is to turn off the virtual cursor and tab through it and see if you can actually use up and down arrow keys to get more conventional navigation. And
I think we were on the same brainwave because that's exactly my
turn the virtual cursor.
Exactly my,
The reason that this is happening in a lot of cases, we're seeing this a lot with more websites than I'd like to count.
Yes.
Is because we're seeing where the page and the page elements are not what I would consider. It's actually an app that's running on a web page platform. But that means that the traditional way that JAWS grabs that information is not available to JAWS. And even if it is, it's not seeing it correctly. This is an accessibility flaw, unfortunately, that developers don't, they're trying to overthink some of this sometimes. And I think that's no offense, but I just think they're trying to, it's an app. So you've got to put JAWS in what's called applications mode. I would try that first. Let's see if that.
Another thing that I would try here too. I would try activating the JAWS touch cursor.
Yeah,
since it's treating it like an app, you might want to try and activate the JAWS touch cursor. See if you have any luck that way.
Touch cursor.
One way you would want to try it too is if you could get to it through your app, your iOS device, like an iPad. And just see what kind of results you get, because if it works that way, chances are the app, the touch cursor will give you some decent results. Now that's going to get interesting for, like you said, intermediate basic JAWS users. But
that's the thing, because
you teach a process, right? I mean, that's
exactly, because I can get to it. It's no problem for me. It's just convoluted, but some people are complaining about it and like, we can't use this. Well, you just got to work with it a little bit, wrestle with it. Anyway.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate, but that is, we see that from time to time. And Azure, we do that at work too. And there's different types of Azure stuff, but Azure, when it's done right, and then it's set up right, it does respond to JAWS, but I would try those suggestions and just see what happens. Israel, you got any more thoughts?
Not at this moment.
Okay. Questions from anyone who wants to raise their hand or comments, suggestions, feel free. Again, if you're just joining us and you forgot, or maybe you want to ask a question, it's Alt-Y on the PC and more on the phone, or your device there, and then you can press the raise hand option there. That's a good question, though. Very good question. Looking for hands here. Don't see any yet. We have another iPhone question here. Can I unmute you again? I don't know if it's the same guy. We just didn't lower the hand or not, but I'm asking you to unmute. Let's see. I'll do it again. See if we can have you join us here. Okay, I think it was Ryan, actually. So we just have a lot of stuff like that. Israel and I, we run into those challenges from time to time. But I would say, and Israel, I think you'd probably agree, that we do encounter some of that a little more often now with newer web development, where JAWS has to be put in applications mode. And in order to do that, you simply turn off the virtual cursor by pressing
insert Z.
Insert Z. And when you're done, you can press insert Z to turn it back on. It's a toggle, so it's not going to change everything. It will come back, and that works in Google Chrome and Edge for the most part, unless you have Edge Original.
And it also works in Word documents too, if you want to turn that on. And what that does is that it enables Word documents that are written with proper headings, lists, tables. It gives you HTML-like commands so that you can jump to those sections of those documents since we were talking about Word earlier, I think it's worth mentioning that you have that functionality in a Word document.
Yeah, I will also say that this is going to only it's only going to be this way more often than not with the newer stuff, because we're trying to be more universal in the way we develop websites, because a lot of folks are starting to use their phones exclusively and not necessarily their computers. And so web developers, I think, are starting to make their stuff. A lot of folks use their phones. And I didn't realize this until I've talked to more and more people, that they use their phones to navigate web pages. And it's becoming more prevalent. And of course, it's easier to do. Maybe we should do a quick tutorial on that one day about how to use your phone to navigate web pages. Matter of fact, we're working on a project right now where the web-based stuff is not working, but it is working on the phone. It's one of the more bizarre things, but hey, do whatever you got to do to make it work. And so, and I think that, you know, stuff like this can be taught. It's just a process of how you do it. So it's just how we're going. It's just how things are starting to move. So, but you'll see more of this as things go along, and JAWS does well with it. A lot of the menus that you have to collapse and expand, that's one way that people have to use the applications mode to do that. It's just how things go these days. So it's nothing that we can't do, thank goodness. 20 years ago, this would have thrown us all for a loop, but at least there's ways to do it. So we have about 7 minutes before the top of the hour. So again, anyone with questions, comments, suggestions about our meeting, either this one or ones you've heard in the past or ones you want to hear in the future, feel free to reach out to us for raising your hand. Alt-Y if you're using a PC. On the phone, you'll tap more on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and there's a raise hand option there. Just looking and seeing if there's any. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It's been a good turnout, as per usual.
Yeah, we do absolutely want to thank everybody for being here. And I'll talk for a minute while Mike looks for any last minute questions. We do want to thank everybody for being here. Again, we really appreciate your support. It means a lot to us. If you can continue to share this link, to share our meeting with your friends in your network, colleagues, coworkers, friends, ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, it's all right. You can hate them about everything else except technology. It's fine.
Yeah, there you go.
We greatly appreciate that. If you can keep that subscribership going up as well. Our next big goal, I'd like to see us keep growing, obviously. So would Mike. We're at 43 subscribers. And again, it's just been incredible support. We've gotten very good feedback on the times that we have gotten an opportunity to speak with people that have been in these meetings, and people are learning a lot. So we greatly appreciate that. And Mike, are there any other hands raised, last minute hand raised?
I'm not seeing any that anybody's jumping in to ask any question. I keep going through the list. We're not seeing any. It could be, I don't know. Do you have to refresh this? I don't think you do. No, I didn't think so. One thing I wanted to mention is there are rumors aplenty that Google Mail is going to stop supporting some of the mail clients in the future, as for security reasons. Don't know if that's going to affect a lot of folks, but if it does, let me kind of calm your nerves a little bit. There are ways to navigate Google Chrome and emails and all of that sort of thing, and we will do some stuff on that in our highlights or our hot takes. So be looking for that on the website. I'm going to do a couple of things for that soon. hopefully in the next week or so, and I'm going to have them up on the channel with Israel's help. And that's one of the things I wanted to mention before we leave tonight, is that we're looking for people to tell us what you want us to put up there as well. Because if we can do a tutorial that's helpful is one thing, but if you request it specifically, we'll go out of our way to see if we can't make something happen for you, because we want this to be beneficial. So if you have a suggestion, would like to hear something that we do, or would like for us to cover something in particular, either on a meeting like this or as just something that we can record and put up on the channel, feel free to let us know. Send us an email, athotcorner@gmail.com. That's a good way to get a hold of us, or you guys who know our email addresses, you can send them directly to us. But athotcorner@gmail.com, we will definitely get it, and we'll work on it from that standpoint.
And we love you guys so much that if it's a burning request, we'll record an on-demand podcast for you.
Exactly. You can't get any better than that.
Exactly.
So want to thank everybody for joining. I'm going to look one more time, see if we got any questions before we shut it down for the evening.
And while you do that, I just want to go ahead and sign off for the evening. Thank you guys so much for your support, for your participation. Appreciated. Always remember to like, subscribe, and share. I've been saying that for months and I still can't get it right. Like, subscribe, and share for more great content.
Very good. I hope everyone has a good evening. This has been a really good week. We appreciate everybody joining us. Hope everybody enjoys your St. Patrick's Day and evening. Be safe, and we will see you again for our next meeting, which will be on April the 21st. We have 5 Thursdays in the month of March. So 5 weeks from tonight, we will rejoin you for our monthly get-together. In the meantime, be sure and reach out to us if you need anything, and we'd be glad to help you out. But enjoyed it. Have a great evening, and we will talk to you next month.
Good night, everybody.
You've been listening to Assistive Technology Hot Corner. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. We also invite you to like, subscribe, and share for more great content. You may email the show at athotcorner@gmail.com. That's athotcorner@gmail.com. On behalf of Mike Moat, I am Israel Cazares, signing off. Until next time.